How do we have an economy that works? You just do the reverse. You go back to production, as you've been leading the way for here in Vermont, local production. You go back to making things, building rather than borrowing to move the economy forward. You go back to thrift. You go back to conservation. And you go back to ecological restoration. There's a word for that. It's called the green economy. And it's the only economy that's going to work. It's the only way out of this catastrophe. It's the only way forward for humanity, the green economy. And so, why don't we have one? Why don't we have one? Now listen, if I were any place else, I would indulge myself. I'd start talking about the Koch brothers. See? I'd start talking about big oil. I'd start talking about big coal. I'd start talking about that strange television station named after a sneaky predatory mammal. Wouldn't that be a subtle hint to you? If your main news source were named after a sneaky, dishonest, predatory mammal. But I'm not going to talk about Fox. I'm not going to mention Fox because it's just. But I'm not going to do that. Because we can have the real conversation. You know what the problem is? Us. Us. In fact, some of the problem now isn't the climate science or the political science, it's just some of the brain science and of us trying to get into this next mode. Wherever I go, now I'm all off script now, but we're friends. Wherever I go, I have the same conversation, not with people who don't agree with us, but with people who supposedly do. There's a conflict that we need to resolve, and Vermont has to lead on this, between the values of environmental conservation and the values of environmental innovation. There's a conflict. Wherever I go, I have the same experience. I'm in California, and I'm talking about the beauties of the solar industry. Everybody goes, yes, 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 yes. And then I talk about how we can power ourselves and how Germany had a day where they were 50% renewable in Germany, which is not the sunniest place in the world. But they were, one day, literally half the country was being run off renewable energy. Germany, all those factories, all that stuff, Germany, 50%. We're at 2%. And people, yes, 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 yes. And then we start talking about anything practical. And we'll say, well, yeah, but we can't actually have a solar farm here in California because it will hurt the environment. And I say, well, you know what? Well, maybe we shouldn't then. Never mind, I'll go someplace else. Then I go someplace else. And they say, and I talk about the beauty of the wind industry and how we can have all kind of wonderful wind power, and we can put the auto workers back to work, and you know, a wind turbine has got 8,000 finely machined parts in it, so you can put your automakers back to work, and it's got as much steel as 20 cars. You can put your steel workers back to work and get people going. And well, that sounds great. You just can't put any wind turbines here. So why not? So, well, bad for the environment. It's going to mess up the view shed. And so, okay, well, sorry, never mind. I'll just go someplace else. Go where you're not talking about offshore wind. You're talking about putting up wind on the mountain. Can't put, not on my mountain. we're in some danger now of some indictment from our children and from our grandchildren of having built an environmental movement that is in theory for clean energy everywhere, but for nowhere in practice. That in theory, we should have clean energy everywhere, just nowhere in practice. And this is the next struggle within our family. Because there is still the idea, and it's a tough idea, that we have only a few places left, and it's true, that have not been disturbed, where Walmart hadn't gone in there and put a big corrugated tin roof over what used to be farmland and started selling crap to us. Right? And we want to keep it that way. We only have a few places that have been undisturbed by the relentless drive for big corporations to develop everything, to pave everything, to put their brands and logos on everything, including our kids. There are just a few daggum places left that have not been disturbed. And here come big wind and big solar and big talking folks from Washington, D.C. who want to mess it up, and we need to defend those few precious places that haven't been disturbed. That is the good part of this resistance. But I want to say this. We're disturbing it right now with these lights. We're disturbing it right now when we get in a car and drive away. We're disturbing it when I get in a plane and fly home. We're disturbing it not just in Vermont, but all over planet Earth, as the few places we could protect from direct disturbance are now being hit by the indirect disturbance of a planet whose climate has gone haywire. These places are imperiled by the way we live. See, in the last century, the big conflict was the threat of nuclear war. The way that we kill each other might kill everyone. We dodged that bullet, but now Bill McKibben, thanks a lot, has informed us that the way we live, not the way we kill, but the way we live, burning that dead stuff out of the ground, could kill us all. This isn't just a threat to me and you or our children. It's a threat to the children of all species everywhere, not just a few places we can draw a circle around. The children of all species. So the calculation that we have to go through now must be much more subtle. We're going to have to find a way. Now, that doesn't mean it's open season on anybody. That doesn't mean that we just willy-nilly just start paving over. There has to be planning. There has to be thought. And that's why you need an organization like this one. That's why you need an organization like this one. Because this is complex. And we are going to have to, it's easy and cheap for me, and I love doing it, to throw rocks at the polluters. I mean, they make it easy. I mean, they put up ads all day long talking about how green and clean they are, and they're spending more money on the ads on their green program. I mean, they're just begging for it.